I would say it's incredibly important. From a restaurant standpoint, it's difficult if your product doesn't have an ability for me to put a speed pourer in it. It's hard to justify putting it in the well of a bar. If it's not going to look cute up on the back shelf,
Correct.
if it's not going to go with the interior, restaurants spend so much money on interior design, making sure that.
Hi everyone, this is Ankita from USA Spirits Rating, and with me we have Jacob. And what we're going to talk today is how to break into the US market. What are the successful ways when it comes to the marketing strategies to placing for any new and existing brands that want to come to US market. So why don't we start with your introduction, Jacob? Tell us about what is your experience, how long you have been in the industry, and where your expertise lies in.
I'm Jacob Brown. I'm the Beverage Director of Lazy Bear in San Francisco, 2 Michelin stars. I've been in the beverage industry for about 15 years at this point in time. I've worked every position. I started off as a bartender. I've brewed beer, and I've been a sommelier now for about 10 years now.
Amazing.
And I've gotten to experience all sides of the beverage trade, and I'm very excited to be here today.
So I'm sure that we'll get a lot of learning insights from you, especially for the new brands,
Yes.
The existing brands that are just in the onset of making their journey towards US market. So in your entire experience, what sort of pitfalls or what sort of this is not going to work sort of examples that you have seen with these new brands trying to enter in the market?
I do feel that where I see certain brands struggle right away could be just being able to get their messaging across right away. And that could be as simple as being able to pronounce the name of the product itself. And even if you have a complicated name, I feel like there's a real opportunity to train your consumers and your clientele to be able to go and to understand your product as a whole.
More storytelling, I guess.
More storytelling, have the kind of belief behind it as well, and then utilizing sommeliers and bartenders sort of as your ambassadors, to be able to educate. And I think one of the biggest things is education across the board. And so whether it's hosting seminars or taking retail people and teaching them how to teach the consumer about the product. Tastings, because spirits are complicated. I've been in this industry for 15 years, and there's still new things that come out every single day. And a barrier for even me to consider something can be as simple as I don't understand the product, and I'm a pro at this, and it can be very difficult if there's not enough information to go around.
Amazing. So what we are expecting is that these products, these brands should always supplement a lot of materials, supplement a lot of handhold in terms of educating, in terms of selling their stories on hand before doing right marketing for the right, let's say, consumer, for trade, for on trade. And that is how they should not just launch the product, they should launch the whole environment for that product.
I think it's just like any other product you have out there. That it doesn't have to be beverage. I think that the beverage industry could learn from tech, for example, that you shouldn't be immediately going out and trying to just compete with the biggest brand in the market. If you're starting a social media platform, I wouldn't go and say, I'm going to try and take on Instagram. What's going to make your product unique? Be the best version of yourself, and then the way you, instead of just immediately trying to price compete to the bottom line, be yourself, find that story, learn to tell that story, and through telling that story, proselytize these educators, whether that be wine writers, whether that be bartenders, sommeliers, chefs even. Chefs, I think, are a great source because they themselves are the ones in charge of these businesses as well.
Right.
And they can be the ones as well to help tell your story as well.
Interesting. What does purchasing any brand based on the packaging means to you? So what my question is that packaging as a criteria, packaging as one of the criteria in the entire formula of you end up buying that product is for you. How important?
I would say it's incredibly important. From a restaurant standpoint, it's difficult if your product doesn't have an ability for me to put a speed pourer in it. It's hard to justify putting it in the well of a bar. If it's not going to look cute up on the back shelf,
Correct.
if it's not going to go with the interior, restaurants spend so much money on interior design, making sure that the restaurant looks beautiful.
Amazing.
The
Yes.
decor looks amazing.
It's aesthetic. It's going well.
And I don't want the person who designs my building to come up and ask me why that ugly bottle is sitting on the shelf.
Sure.
So it's very important. And back to the earlier point, I think a lot of it is about framing, whether it's framing the story or in the case of your product is the actual frame itself. The bottle is so important to help tell that story because you can use it to put those educational facts, to put the data. People are more interested than ever before about what's in the product, what the stats about the product are, what are the ABV, what are the aging, those sorts of things that you can use.
I'm sure nowadays sustainability, calorie count, I think.
Sustainability, calorie counts, and the fact that you can put your own story right on the label,
Yes.
that you can have that first portion be a part of the literal frame of your beverage.
Amazing. So at the competition that you are at, Jacob, we try to assimilate all these criteria so that we can give a wholesome feedback and a shelf talker to the producers and to the brands. So tell us that how important these evaluations and assessments are for a new brand. Like, for example, if there is an X brand that wants to come to US market but still thinking about it, how important do you think these assessments would be?
For example, agave alone, look at the new players to the agave space.
Great,
and there's very few ways to differentiate yourself. And so to have something like USA Spirits rating on the bottle, I just got to come out of that judging room of some of the top of my peers in the United States in terms of beverage knowledge. And so without me knowing anything else, or maybe somebody else not knowing anything else, there's at least that bit of credibility behind that brand that there has been a good faith effort to blind taste these beverages and actually be able to suss out. I think it's very important to have a good product first, and I think being able to show off a gold medal from the U.S. Spirits rating or from a top spirits competition can really set you apart.
Does it help in terms of marketing and building credibility as well?
I absolutely believe it does.
So what does assessment and evaluation mean to you? So for example, what are the checkpoints or the checklist as a buyer or as a gatekeeper of the states would like to see in a brand that is making it to the US market, like a new brand?
I think it depends on the category, but let's talk about spirits.
Just one, yeah, spirits.
Let's talk about spirits. So I think when it comes to spirits and entering the market, in terms of my own assessment of spirits in general, I don't think that we live in an era anymore that you can hide behind just great packaging. I think that you need to have a top quality product because we live in the greatest era of spirits ever. Technology and the world is just continuously getting better at making spirits. So I find that the ability for the spirit to hold up on its own is very important. That if I were to just have it by itself, I think is a very important thing. And is it unique? I think that does this stand out from the pack? And if not, is it showing typical? If it's talking about agave, for example, does it show off those classic earthy tones, that little bit of florality that I'm looking for as well? Does this taste classic to me? Those things are important. And if it doesn't taste classic, it better taste very different in a good way.
Do you often think about food pairing when you try to go for, especially for spirits, I'm asking?
For spirits, yes. I think the ability to pair with cuisine or what can be done before or after dinner. I think that I often, and I think on my judging panel I was even talking with it, that there's kind of those like three points to any to the meal. It's the before dinner cocktail, where I want a good, maybe I do want a tequila, maybe I do want a nice gin cocktail to start off, a martini, for example. And then after dinner, where a good añejo tequila or perhaps a scotch or a whiskey. I think more about that. What would bookend the meals in those specific ways? I think spirit and food pairings can be quite difficult. They can be very fun, but it's also kind of a difficult thing to pair with. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I often think that spirits can be used to, put the proverbial cherry on top. You can have a great meal, but I think that one of the great joys of a great dinner is the act of dinner, the preamble that can be your cocktail, the appetizer, and then maybe dessert and maybe a nice after dinner spirit.